In the fabled land of Eridu, a young woman had been created for a very special purpose: to be a mate to and procreate with the first human man. Together, they were expected to tend the animals and take care of the gardens. The man's name was Adam, and the woman was Lilith. Yes, Adam, or Adapu's first wife, wasn't Eve, but Lilith. Hello, and welcome to KS Dragon Court Episode 3. In this episode, our story is, who was the serpent in the garden? To begin with, let's look at the three serpent women: Ninkarsag, Lilith, and Eve. Ninkarsag was the Anunnaki goddess who appears as half-human, half-serpent, who created humans with her husband Enki to serve the gods. Lilith was the first female created to be Adam's wife. Now, when she was told of her intended role, our heroine declared that she would absolutely not be subservient to Adam, who seems kind of placid throughout most of the stories about him, a little too complacent, lazy even. Lilith ran away from Eridu, or Eden, and Adam went to whine to the Lord about his absent wife. The Lord sent 3 warriors to recapture Lilith and threatened her with every punishment he could think of if she would not come back and fulfill her role, including killing 100 of her children every day. Lilith refused, and even married Samael, a soon-to-be fallen archangel, ensuring her protection. The bemused gods then set about creating Eve, and most of us know the result of that. The serpent tempted Eve, Eve ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge, gave some to Adam, and they were both cast out of the Garden of Eden, with Eve and her descendants cursed to suffer the pangs of childbirth forevermore. The Lord who was upset was Enlil. But which of these suspects do you think was the serpent? Enki, Ninkarsag, Ningazida, Samael, Lilith, or Eve herself? Enki is the one most people, including R.A. Boulay in his book Flying Serpents and Dragons, believe to have been the trickster who upset the natural order of things. He is depicted sometimes as half-serpent, along with Ninkarsag, and he had good reason to want to give us an upgrade, so to speak. See, he and Enlil were fighting over who would control the earth. Enlil was the lord of the skies, represented as an eagle, and Enki was lord of the earth and waters, the serpent. Enki needed a better equipped army. Plus, their father, Lord Anu, favored Enlil. To boost his own chances, Enki needed a sizable army of his own, and so set about giving the humans the ability to think and reason, with the idea being if they loved him and hated Enlil, they would willingly go to war on his behalf of their own accord. He wasn't wrong, as Enlil despised us, destroying entire kingdoms and populations from time to time to keep our numbers down. But that also doesn't mean Enki wanted the best for us necessarily. There are tales of him that show he did also have a very selfish side. Ninkarsag apparently actually loved the humans and viewed us as her children. She would want the best for us and would not want us to be automatons. She had the pure motivation in helping Adam and Eve ascend. The problem is Enki and Ninkarsag were very powerful. Too powerful for Enlil to be able to mete out the punishment he dealt the serpent. I think we have to look at the others more closely. There is Ningazida, not only the son of Enki, depicted with serpent symbolism, but also, like Ninkarsag, and even Enki himself from time to time, appearing to have loved the humans and wanting the best for us. He was the founder of a mystery school that taught enlightenment, so it stands to reason that he could have been our suspect. He had cause. He had the ability to enter and leave at will, and he was a third-tier Anunnaki, meaning not as powerful as his parents or uncle. Would his parents have left him to Enlil's wrath? Doubtful. After all, the punishment was extremely severe, with the serpent's arms and legs hacked off, and he or she having to crawl on their belly for the rest of their life. Samael was a powerful being who was called the Blind Serpent. He was one of the angels who rebelled against God, or Enlil, and married Lilith in defiance of everyone else, even when the punishment was eventual castration to prevent more babies being born. Could he have been the serpent who tricked Eve to get back at the others? Well, in medieval times there were many treatises and works of art that showed the serpent in the garden being a definite female, as in showing her with the human head and torso and the tail of a serpent nicely wrapped around the tree. It wasn't enough for us women to be damned because of Eve's decision. The tempter had to be a temptress. That leaves Eve and Lilith. Interestingly, Eve means to live, but there are some scholars who point out that Eve also has a link to the Aramaic word snake. L.A. Waddell, another scholar and writer, stated she was a serpent priestess herself and had been trained in the temple rites prior to leaving the garden. Did she learn too much that she began questioning everything she'd been taught and decided to defy the gods, taking Adam with her? The serpent is presented as a third entity. So unless Eve referred to herself in the third person, it would mean Lilith. Lilith is a fascinating figure in mythology. Men have feared her as much as desired her. She was a very beautiful woman, sometimes known as the torturous serpent, and is also painted as a half-serpent, along with others like Ninkarsag. There is an obvious link between her and Lamia in Greek mythology, a half-serpent, half-female, beautiful Libyan queen who was forced to crawl on her belly, sans arms and legs, thanks to Zeus being Zeus whenever he saw a beautiful woman, and Hera punishing the woman instead of her husband. Both serpent women were known as child-devouring monsters, acting out of unbridled rage and desire for vengeance after their brutal mistreatment and the deaths of their own babies. Lilith is also shown as a harpy, a winged woman with bird feet, and is known as a succubus, a woman who visits men in the dead of the night and steals their souls. Our ancestors were taught to fear and despise her in equal measure, yet her allure remains. In myth, books, art, and music, her name has lived on. Whatever the truth, Lilith rebelled and forged her own path. While she detested Adam, did she feel the same for her replacement? Or was there a sense of sisterhood that drove her to return to the garden and help Eve? Was she the one brave enough to tell Eve that the gods had been lying to her, and that to eat fruit of the tree of knowledge would help, not kill her? If Lilith was a serpent, did she do it out of the goodness of her heart, or as a big F.U. to the gods who had tried to control her and then punished her when she refused to capitulate and become subservient? God was not finished with cursing out Eve and torturing the serpent. He wanted them divided and at each other's throats. He said to the serpent, "I will put hostility between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." This is most likely the beginning of the wars we see in mythology told the world over between eagle versus serpent, the followers of Enlil versus Enki, also told as man versus dragon. The dragon, by the way, is almost always female, such is the case with Marduk and Tiamat, or Beowulf and Grendel's mother. What do you think? Who is the most likely serpent and why? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for listening to Who Was the Serpent in the Garden? Join us next time as we explore another fascinating topic in the world of mythology and spirituality. Every week we will be looking at the serpent civilization and some of its amazing gods, goddesses, priestesses, and rituals. If you like alternate history, the occult, temple secrets, and the lost serpent civilization, don't forget to subscribe. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and leave a review.